Hello, I'm Mernas Campbell, founder and CEO of Kimia and Kimia Reset. And I'm really passionate about helping pharmaceutical sales professionals to feel confident about using technology to improve the quality of their engagement with healthcare professionals. It's the human side of the digital transformation that really excites me. Enabling people to use technology is really what I'm curious about. And to explore this topic, I've been interviewing inspiring pharmaceutical leaders to learn from them and to share their perspective. What I found is that they all focus on the people behind the tools, which is fascinating. I'm delighted to be kicking off the new year by interviewing Sophie Graham-Godet, Global Director, Omni-channel Marketing Capabilities from GSK. Hi, Sophie. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Manas. Brilliant to be here too.
Oh, perfect. So let me tell you a little bit about Sophie and her background. She is an inspiring leader. During her career, she successfully led both industry marketing and consulting teams, delivering award-winning transformational programs in top pharmaceutical companies. Sophie is currently leading the Omni-channel Capability Acceleration in GSK. And her aim is to enable leaders, teams, and clients to excel and make a real difference in their organization. Sophie, in her free time, is a primary school governor, and she speaks 3 languages, which I'm sure comes in really handy in her global role. What I didn't share with you is Sophie and I used to work together in Pfizer, and it was so lovely to meet you in person in Nice when we both attended the Reuters conference. So, Sophie, I'm so happy to have you here. And I just wanted to ask you, perhaps you could tell us a little bit of background about your career path and what brought about your passion for digital marketing, please.
Thanks, Manas. And it was great to reconnect with you in Nice as well. It's been a little while. So my background is in science and communication degrees, and in fact, that's what I started very early on when I left school. And I've always looked to combine those two, I guess, early experiences of, science and research, and the importance and the place of science in our environment and in our society today, along with how we can more effectively communicate it for the wider good. And that's what's led me to the pharmaceutical industry, I guess, as a whole. And my whole career has been, one way or another, in the pharmaceutical industry, initially in a medical education agency, then at Pfizer, which is where you and I work together, then more recently in consulting, and now here at GSK in this newer omni-channel capabilities role, which is very much a culmination of really all my different experiences, actually, either as a marketing leader recently in the French market. So yes, my French languages and dual nationality came in very handy there. And really, omni-channel marketing and digital marketing is really just part of our world, in the real world, the environment that we live in more widely today. And for pharmaceutical industry, it's still a bit of an evolving frontier. We're a little bit Star Trek about it, I suppose, versus other industries. And I love new challenges. That's been, again, a consistent pattern in my career to date. And therefore, being here at this new evolving and continually evolving frontier for pharmaceutical is a really exciting and dynamic place to be.
Oh, brilliant. And I was going to say, I guess marketing has changed during COVID and post-COVID. And I imagine, the word omnichannel in your title might be a clue, but how do you see marketing is evolving specifically in your organization as a result of these changes?
Yeah, so it's a really great question. And I think for me, the key word is evolution and continuing to evolve with agility. And I know agility is a bit of a buzzword too at the moment, but I really believe with COVID and the pandemic that we need to be much more responsive. We need to be able to meet our customers where they want to be met by us. And this is not the first time in the industry we've been saying this, right? As an industry, we've conceptually said this for many, many years. But with COVID, it's accelerated our journey even faster. So where we were slowly moving on what was probably a 5-year horizon, we've had to react in 3 or 4 months, initially with the first lockdowns, if I think back to those times in particular. And for marketeers and sales and medical colleagues, we all need to collaborate much more effectively, creating content that's meaningful for our customers and at the point at which they want to consume it, whether that's in a face-to-face interaction at congresses or through our various field forces, or whether it's via email or through web portals. There are multiple different ways.
Thanks, Sophie. So when you talk about agility, are you talking about speed, or are you talking about actually using the agile concept in part of your content creation in marketing?
So a bit of both, actually. So we certainly need to move from a historical model, perhaps, of being very focused on consistent campaign messages and consistent communications that ran for relatively long periods of time, probably on an annual cycle, sometimes on a 6-monthly cycle, through to something much more nimble, that might be, on a monthly or a quarterly basis, for example, that's much more impactful then, and keeping currency and adding value to our customers.
Perfect. And have you found that the speed of creating content has increased in your team, or has it just remained the same?
So my team doesn't create content anymore. So I'm really focused on capabilities. If I look more widely at the global teams that we have and the teams in the markets, it really does vary. And I think what has increased is the volume of content. So to meet the demands of our customers and the needs of our customers, then actually what we create now needs to be much more meaningful, and therefore we need more of it, and also on a more frequent basis. I think there are some really great examples internally that we have where teams are moving to doing this and are doing this well.
Yeah, I think you're making a really interesting point that every team I talk to, they're creating more, and I think people are working much harder now with omni-channel marketing compared to before. And I just think, you mentioned your team focuses around capability. Apart from capability of juggling so many plates at the same time, are there any specific capabilities you identified that you think are essential for marketeers working in this environment now?
Yes, it's the short answer. I guess I'm trying to think about which ones to pick, because there's a temptation to come up with a really long list, which I don't think is helpful. I'm drawn particularly to things like a curious mindset, so trying and experimenting new ways, not just new channels, but new ways of connecting content and information, which I think is a key capability. I think close collaboration. We've always collaborated, I think, with medical and field colleagues to generate really great content and campaigns, but there's a real additional need to do this well at a local and a global level nowadays, and make sure that we have really value added content, whether that's above brand or non-promotional content, as well as promotional content.
I love it. I love that, Sophie. Carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
And well, just maybe my last piece is the analytics and the data analysis, right? So we are moving, I think, as an industry. We still, our metrics are evolving, and our ability as marketeers to be able to analyze new formats and new data points, to measure our content effectiveness, our content impact, how we are really contributing to enhancing the customer and the patient experience with our medicines or our vaccines, is really quite key. So those would be the 3, I think, priority areas.
Yeah, I love what you said, because that curious mindset is something I can see as a capability across a number of roles that we could really benefit from. And I think the collaboration, again, is a key theme that is naturally and organically emerging. I think people before had this sense of competition between companies, but now I think people realize the problems of the world are so much bigger than one of us. So we need to work more collaboratively across different departments or even across different companies to be able to address some of the challenges. So, I totally agree with you. And I think when you talk about the analytics and insights, it reminds me of advice I was given by my mentor, Richard Blackburn. I guess you remember him from Pfizer.
I do, yeah.
Many, many years ago, I was working in Park Davis, and I remember Richard, he was a director of marketing, and he said to me, market research and insight should be used as a lamp that enlightens your path so you can see clearly, not a lamppost that a drunk leans to get support. And he was saying sometimes insight is used to justify what we want to do. And it just tickled me when I remembered his sound advice. But I think you're right. Capability to be able to analyze information, to draw insight from it is so key, again, both in marketing and also in commercial side of the business as well. So, Sophie, what do you think pharmaceutical companies need to do to create a truly integrated customer experience? Because at the end of the day, everything we do is to generate a good customer experience. Are you doing anything specifically, and what's your views on that?
Now the shift is actually doing much more point specific online testings that are quick and give us the right insight to be able to then develop the right campaign, the right content and materials that will really support our customers. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. And I think the other big difference is connecting the dots. Our customers have much higher expectations and needs, and therefore personalizing that content as much as possible within relevant regulatory frameworks, etc., is important, so that we're really adding value at those different intervention points or touch points that a customer might want to interact with or receive information or our data on. And one of the things, we were, in my current role, I'm responsible for developing a capability campus, so a knowledge resource, a learning resource, a dynamic living learning resource where everyone will understand how we do omni-channel at GSK. And I'm interviewing customers to get their view on what it feels like to receive our content and our materials. And those expectations are high in terms of the data, the insights, the ways they want us to interact with them. And it's important that we include that in our understanding as much as we possibly can.
Definitely. And I think it's good that you're getting that feedback from them early on, so you have chance to tweak your approach to include their feedback in it. Do you kind of get involvement from your sales team? I know you don't work with brand content development because you're working on capability, but do generally marketing teams use kind of a co-creation process for content development to get input from the sales team? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much so. The sales team are really integral to a lot of that content and the feedback, and they're very much, we look to them to provide voice of the customer insights really as well, particularly within each market that we work with. And my France experience was testament to that. We had cross-functional brand teams with sales reps and medical colleagues and other key functions to create local plans, but also customer journeys, and then we also have had point groups of reps to test specific content items with. Mm-hmm. So there was a really nice blended model in France, and I think that's fairly representative of many of our other countries' approaches too. Maybe not all of them, but many of them. And that's really invaluable. And I think we pull in at also a global level, where we can, through our co-creation approaches and collaboration with, again, key market representatives too.
Fantastic. So, Sophie, in your global role, are you seeing any global trends for adoption of omni-channel capabilities, or does it vary from country to country or region to region? What's your observations?
The levels of which every region is at is wildly different. Right, so there's a huge variation, certainly by region, and also actually within markets and by brands too, depending on brand maturity and where they are in their life cycle as well. So there's kind of multiple factors, and I'm not going to call out which countries are where, because they're all, we're all evolving. And I think my comment earlier around one of the key success factors for us, I think, in marketing today is to make sure we keep agile, we keep evolving, and we keep developing both ourselves and our teams. And from wherever your starting point is, it's okay. Just keep learning and keep developing and keep experimenting with things so that we can continue to excel and meet our customer needs.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's a journey. So we need to know, where are we now, and making, slowly steady progress towards where we want to be. And it doesn't matter whether you're ahead or behind or somewhere in the middle, as long as you measure where you are and tracking your progress. That's the key things. And this is a journey. This is not like something you get a tick and it's done. Omni-channel is like a way of doing things. It's like any other skills. You want to stay on top of it to continuously improve it.
Exactly. And I think the word that matters is what the customers think, right? And that might vary by market. And therefore, as we talked about earlier, the capabilities needs will vary by market as well. And for me, we need to have that customer mindset throughout. And it's what they need and how we need to work with them to be most effective and impactful that matters, rather than where one market is today versus another.
Yeah. I've been asking all the people I interviewed recently about what they think the future role of the pharmaceutical sales representative will look like. And as a, expert marketeer, Sophie, I really love to know, what's your opinion on this? How do you think their role would evolve?
So I think their role is already evolving and will continue to evolve. I think they play a critical role in that customer experience. They're quite often the face of the company and the organization, and a key point of contact for our customers. And certainly, there are a few countries that we've seen post-pandemic that have really adopted a heavy digital focus, and really minimized that face-to-face interaction. But most, and I'm speaking very broadly here, most of the top 10 big markets still have a quite heavy mix of, from a customer perspective, of face-to-face and other interaction points, should we say, from the industry. There's a strong future for reps, but their role is evolving and changing in terms of orchestrating and coordinating all these touch points, so that it's really easy for customers to get what they need when they need it, and to feel that we are providing them with valuable information and content each time we meet with them or interact with them.
Yeah, it's great. I was on the call as well. It was the inpatient health predictions, and you're right. And the digital launches alone have not been successful. But also, one of the predictions Paul made was there's going to be a 20% reduction on the commercial sales team. And I think to survive and be good at omni-channel sales profession, salespeople need to upskill and be good at face-to-face and digital calls. It's a kind of the environment has changed, so we need to evolve and adapt our way of doing it. So my final question is your top tip and advice for other leaders in your position in marketing. What was your top tip about the human aspect of digital transformation? Because I know you do care a lot about people. What's your advice on that, Sophie?
Well, it's all about the people. Without either, whether they're customers or our own teams, we can't deliver the value and input we needed to improve patient care. That's the bottom line. But they're fundamental to our success, and it's and their ability to listen to our customers also and integrate what they hear to deliver, again, more impactful content and value is what's really important. So I'd be a bit cheeky and say it's all about the people, and it's also about the content too that they create.
Thank you, Sophie. So we heard it from Sophie. It's all about people. It's been lovely to have you here, Sophie, and really appreciate you sharing your insight and wisdom about digital marketing. I just want to wrap up this wonderful interview with Sophie by just sharing with you that we've developed Kimia Reset, a fun and engaging cloud-based learning platform that focuses on the human side of digital transformation. And we've been able to help sales team across many countries to effectively engage and connect with healthcare professionals. And the things we've observed is increase their confidence, increase the quality of their virtual and face-to-face calls, and dramatically increase the quantity of their engagement, but as much as fivefold. We won several awards for disruptive innovation in UK and Europe, and we are the emerging alliance partner with, for training with Viva Systems. Some describe our platform as the Netflix of pharmaceutical sales training. We're developing new exciting modules and for effective omni-channel behaviors and mindset and tools for increasing CRM adoption. So if you're looking for a solution to help your team gain confidence and embrace digital tools and agile using online content, get in touch because we would love to hear from you. That's it from me and Sophie. So thank you and goodbye.